Hello everyone, Manny here, and in today's video, we're going back to our roots to Was It Worth It videos, where I make post reviews on products that I purchased and decide whether or not was it worth it. Now, take in mind, these are my own personal opinions about the product and should be taken with a grain of salt. But to not prolong this video, let us begin. Ever since its announcement back in 2010 during SHOT Show, the LM4 has gone to not a lot of changes, but we'll go over the positives and the cons when it comes to the LM4, as well as talk about a little bit about the issues that I faced during the use of this specific replica.
Oh my god.
I got him.
That sounds brutal, man.
Now for the first positives, we'll talk about the realistic operation. The KWA LM4 is designed to be closely mimic the operation of a real M4 platform. Now this could be seen as good for especially those who want a little bit of more realistic loadout, or if they're firearm users, it could be seen as a tool for training for force on force or weapons manipulation, or even introducing individuals that might be scared of firearms into the firearm community. Now the next point would be the authentic look and feel to it. Now if you see, this LM4 doesn't look like any other typical LM4, and that's because the actual outer parts that have changed from it are from actual real steel parts. With that being said, I do have a quad handguard, right? Quad rail handguard from Daniel Defense that I installed on it, right? I have a vertical grip, as well as I have a EPS buttstock installed on it, showing that it is capable of having outer, right, real firearm parts in order to customize the looks of your LM4. And finally, the last point would be the training and skill development. Like I mentioned it at the beginning, right, because of its realistic operation, it could be seen as a form of tool for actual force-on-force training or introducing individuals to firearms before actually trying to mess around with a real firearm. With that being said, I, as a representative that has worked with KWA more than once, I've seen other agencies from law enforcement to military using this model specifically for their force-on-force training, which again gives it a better outlook for those people that just probably want more realism out of their loadout when it comes to airsoft itself. Now when it comes to the positives, that's pretty much it, but let's see what the cons of the LM4 are. Now for the cons, I'm keeping the cons, and the first one is the biggest one, and that would be the cost. GBBRs, including the LM4, are not exempt from its prices currently out in the market, with a price tag of 430 USD, and that's before taxes. It's a pretty expensive purchase at the beginning for someone that's new to airsoft. And that's without including trying to purchase more magazines, which each one of those costs $50 before taxes, making pretty much the cost of purchasing the LM4 and a full loadout of magazines quietly expensive. One of the things that I noticed, and it seems that I'm not the only one that shares this issue, is the hop-up issue that a lot of people talk about. Now, unfortunately, again, because of the proprietary parts, there's not a lot of hop-ups out there. There is the TNT hop-up that you can use, but it is quietly expensive for such a small, tedious part to have to change, right? And it doesn't make it any easier to, in order to remove the bucking and switch out the actual hop-up, you have to go through an arduous process of disassembling and reassembling it, making it very difficult, or pretty much not want for people to even change it or anything like that. So that being said, the hop-up needs improvements. I know that the LM4D has made a change to their actual hop-up design, but we won't be able to see that until I actually get my hands on one. Now, second to last point would be the maintenance and care. In order to care and maintain an actual GBBR, especially the LM4, it is something that you have to take care as if it was an actual real firearm, being that you would have to make sure that the internals are not being gunked up, right, by the dirt and debris that goes inside of it because of the grease and liquid grease that's inside that keeps the parts lubricated, right? Ensuring that no parts are like cracked, broken, or anything like that, because as soon as they do that, the LM4 is completely gone, right? Compared to its AEG counterparts, which technically speaking, when it comes to basic care, is just pretty much ensuring that your battery is good, or the battery that you're using is good, and the inner barrel and bucking are pretty much clean in order to have a well efficient shooting AEG, right? So when it comes to maintenance and care, it's gonna be a little bit more tedious. It's gonna be more expensive if you break any parts. With that being said, again, that depends whether or not you care about the costs that comes with it along with the long run. And like I mentioned previously with the hop up, the proprietary parts, making it very difficult to actually upgrade and see the full potential that the LM4 could reach, to be honest. Now I see that KWA does do this for their line of AEGs, being that they work with gate to be able to integrate gate into their boxes, into their gearboxes, and a bunch of other stuff that they do with their AEGs, but not their GBBRs. And I feel that the GBBR section of KWA is just completely neglected. And I could give my own opinion about it as someone that's represented KWA, but this is more of a looking at the LM4 from a personal perspective and, you know, an airsofter's eye of view. And last but not least, the limited role in competitive airsoft. Now, you don't see this occur very often, but you don't really see GBBRs out there being used. Now, you do see pistols, but that's a totally different story, being in that a lot of pistols nowadays, especially high kappas, have a lot of third-party parts that you can create, which increases the efficiency and the precision of those. And unfortunately with the LM4 and its proprietary parts, you can't really do that to see what its full potential could be. So that being said, you don't really see it a lot in competitive airsoft, only because a lot of competitive airsoft, if it's indoors, this wouldn't be able to clock through its actual chrono. And if it's outdoors, depending on the weather, you might either face having an incredible pressure to where you can efficiently play with it, or having a crappy temperature, right? A much lower temperature and having a crappy performance out of it. So that's one last thing that I can see that can be a con for it. So there you have it, guys. That's been the positives, the cons, and also the issues that I faced with the LM4. Now comes the big question. Was it worth it? Maybe. And I say maybe because it all depends on people's needs and wants, as well as the budget that they have. On one part, when it comes to individuals that use it for real firearms training, right? Or agencies that need a tool to be able to train either their soldiers or their military or their law enforcement, it is a positive tool. Like any tool, it can be adjusted and designed however their needs are, and frankly, they have the budget for it. But when it comes to an actual airsofter, especially a new airsofter trying to go into the actual GBBR community, I wouldn't recommend the LM4 to be precise, only because it requires a lot of dedication and, of course, quite an amount of money just to start off when it comes to GBBR. Because even if we go to much cheaper options, such as the WeTex M4 GBBR, they're pretty crappy, and in order to get it up to a certain level of performance, you need to also spend a lot of money. So with that being said, I say maybe from the stance of someone that uses firearms, right? And also from the stance of someone that pretty much likes to play airsoft on a day-to-day basis and constantly, to be honest. Now, that is just my opinion, but let me know what you think in the comments down below, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this video for more videos like these. This has been Manny, and until next time. Some people believe it's rivaling even that of high kappa and Glock. For rifle, as well as we have pistols,